It's a very rather hot day today. Today has been an interesting day so far, simply because I wake up this morning and Colin Moriarty left Kinda Funny. So if you don't know about Kinda Funny, I'm not going to explain what they are, so you can either look it up or whatever. I'm going to presume you know what they are. So if I go to Google, Colin Moriarty, there's a few fucking news stories. I'm going to read the Kotaku article. I've never read this article before. It's by Jason Schreier. Colin Moriarty, a co-founder of the popular YouTube channel Kinda Funny, said today that he plans to leave the group. This announcement comes several days after Moriarty drew fire for a controversial Twitter joke targeting women. I'll put an asterisk and say I didn't feel like it targeted women, it was about women. That feels like a... Anyway, it was with a heavy heart and great sadness I announced my resignation from Kinda Funny, effective immediately, Moriarty wrote on Facebook today. This morning the guys and I had a constructive conversation and feel that with our separate visions for the future and for the direction of the company, it's time to go our separate ways. Moriarty, who spent several years at IGN before leaving in 2014 to found Kinda Funny, is a colleague of mine who has long been supportive of Kotaku. I appeared on his show last week. Jason Schreier did appear on, what did they call it? Colin was something. Anyways, Colin was right. He's always been outspoken about his conservative political stances, making appearances on various political talk shows, including just this morning, the Glenn Black radio show. To many Kinda Funny fans, Moriarty's politics have always seemed at odds with the rest of the group, whose members skew liberal. Last week on International Women's Day, Moriarty tweeted a crummy, poorly targeted joke, which said, peace and quiet, hashtag a day without a woman. And continued in response to someone saying how would Aaron feel about this, which is his girlfriend. She's actually in bed next to me and thinks my blatantly obvious joke is funny because not all people are humorless sacks of shit. Lol. Unsurprisingly, these tweets proved controversial, drawing fire from a number of Kinda Funny fans and outside observers. Later that day, Kinda Funny co-founder Greg Miller issued a statement apologising and noting that Moriarty would no longer be appearing at PAX East in Boston this past weekend, and now Moriarty has left the group. I cut out like the last 30 seconds of Greg's speech because I like the part where he says we need to be better. Insert here.
We had a message of positivity. We are not losing that. We are not giving up that ground for anyone. All I ask is that you are better to each other every day. It's hard. I know it is, and I know in Facebook groups and message boards you can get bent out of shape. You take something wrong, you don't know. You just fire off a snarky tweet because you're mad. We got to try not to do this. We are better than this. Let's be better to each other.
You can find the full thing on Twitch. Opportunities are already popping up for me, bringing me in new, different and exciting direction, a direction that I feel makes perfect sense to me, he wrote. Obviously you haven't seen or heard the last of me. Although to some extent this bit has been building for quite some time, Moriarty's views often conflicted with Miller's and the other co-founders. It appears that this joke was a spark that lit up the gasoline. So Colin has left Kinda Funny, and as someone who spends for the last couple of years, ever since Kinda Funny was formed, I've spent nearly every day in the Kinda Funny Facebook group. I would be in that group every single day. The only time I can remember ever not going in the group at least once that day and commenting on like at least something, or liking posts or reading or seeing what's up, the one time would have been a couple day period when my girlfriend left me back in November. I'm in that group daily, and that group is on fucking fire today. A lot of people being assholes. Doesn't matter if you agree with the tweets or not. And I nearly did a video about his tweets the other week when he did them, and I was like, people already making so many videos either for or against him, or it doesn't even matter. Like, I didn't like his tweet. It didn't affect my overall opinion of Colin though. And I feel like the important message that a lot of people are missing this whole thing, because a lot of people are now yelling at Greg, Tim, Nick, whoever, saying that his friends chucked him under the bus and treated him like shit. And my big thing is that if you're in a friendship, because they're all friends, they'll continue to be friends outside of this workspace now, but I feel like if you're ever in a friendship with someone, a relationship, be it intimate or not, sexually related relationship or not a sexy relationship, friends with someone or a girlfriend or boyfriend, and you're in a situation where you feel like they say something and you disagree and you feel uncomfortable in calling them out or letting your opinions know, that's a weird relationship to me. I find the idea of only being friends of people who you get along with and who you feel obligated to stick up for if they say something you disagree with, I find that wholly weird. I disliked Colin's tweet. I thought it was a shit tweet. I didn't think it was a funny joke. However, I was just happy to scroll along Twitter and continue with my day going, well, that's a bit shit. I would have done that for anyone else, let alone someone like Colin who is part of Kind of Funny, this whole upstart group that I admire so much. But for some reason, people really took him to town for it. And that's your obligation, I suppose, on Twitter, if you want to take someone to town. You're, of course, allowed to challenge that tweet. I feel like there's a right way to challenge the tweet. There's a wrong way to challenge it. Straight up tweeting, you sexist man pig piece of shit, solely off that tweet seems to be jumping from about here to fucking off the cliff. But then he also responded and said that everyone humorless sucks as shit, which again I'm sure was a joke. But the thing with Twitter is, if 100% of people aren't going to find your joke funny or know that you're joking, you've got to be careful. And it's not just the SJW secret culture we live in now. It's simply the fact that it's 140 or less characters. No one can read your tone. No one knows what you look like. People who don't know you can read your tweets. So if you're like, oh, surely all these Kind of Funny fans will know that I'm joking if I'm like saying this controversial tweet about Women's Day and then saying that people are sacks of shit, they'll be like, oh, I say that on the show all the time. If me and Greg were sitting on Game of the Greggy show and one of them called the other one a sack of shit, we'd all fucking laugh. You get on Twitter, call people a sack of shit, you don't do, it's just circumstance, where it is, when it happens. I think it's important with these things to be aware of where and when you're doing them. And my main thing is that I just don't understand. Anyway, I think that's my general consensus views on the whole thing. I just wanted to do a quick little video and explain the first time I ever listened to Colin and what I thought of him. Because it's kind of funny. The first time I ever heard Colin would have been on IGN's Game Scoop or Beyond podcast, one of them. I'm not actually sure which one. They were the first two podcasts I started listening to. He could have been a guest on Nintendo Voice Chat for all I know. I'm not sure if he ever was, but I was listening to that at the time as well. So it could have been that. My first opinions of Colin Moriarty was, who is this guy who sounds so full of himself? So like he knows everything. Here's a guy who I could not ever be friends with in real life because he just sounds like an up himself asshole. Of course, Colin's confidence and the way he speaks and the way he's very proud of his views and all of that is of course one of the things that all of us came around to love Colin for. So it's never judge a book by its cover. Maybe stick around, talk to some people you don't like the first time you meet them. I'm not sure what the exact lesson is, but I went from being like, I fucking hate this guy in the one podcast I listened to years later when they left IGN, and then them doing their podcast Beyond the last episode, sitting there watching them two bowling my fucking eyes out. I went from hating this man. Video lesson to be, you can disagree with people, you can have bad first impressions of people, you can have arguments with people, you can find someone to be utterly repulsive, but the fact is, you've just got to be nice. You've got to be nice to people, or you've got to try to be nice to them. You can have a friend who's very right-wing, as long as he's not like a neo-Nazi or something crazy like that. And you can be very left-wing, and you two can be friends. You can argue about stuff, you can agree to disagree, but you can have so much else in common that you like about each other that you can get along. Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty's relationship, to me, for years, has always been about how two people who I never understood how they were such good friends. Yet they were so perfect for each other and they worked so well on shows. Yet I could never understand how they got along at all. Greg's views on stuff always seemed very different. And I just never understood how they could get along. But it was always like a picture perfect example of this thing that I like to believe, which is that you don't need to be 100% in agreement with people, and you can have arguments with people and still be friends. And their relationship and their differences and everything was even more embodied into a company when they formed Kind of Funny. And I was like, well, now here's more people. Tim Geddes has very opposite views to Colin. Nick seems to have opposite views to Colin, yet he doesn't seem to be as closely aligned socially, politically with Greg or Tim's views. Kevin, very opposite views to Colin, had lots of arguments through the election about Hillary Clinton and stuff like that. Still all work together, still all joke, get into arguments, brush it off, agree to disagree, hug it out, whatever you need to do. They were a picture perfect example of like how to just be a fucking human. I think us, human race, with social media at our hands, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it's going to be, we have a long way to go. We struggle in real life to get along as it is, but for some reason on the internet people seem to be really bad, and I think we have a long way to go. My tips for how to be a better person online would be to A, start remembering that everyone that you're tweeting at or something is actually a person, and B, if at all possible, especially on Facebook, use your real name, because you won't be a little bitch if you're using your real name. Well, most people will be less inclined to be a little bitch. If you're under the name fucking Anime Fan 42 and you're on some message board, the ambiguity, the hiding away and peeking over the bush, the invisibility cloak seems to give people power to act like turds. Use your real name, or something at least resembling your real name, and don't be an asshole. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. Okay, love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day.
We got a new janitor too, by the way. Just you missed a spot over there. You doing that? Like, you resigned. Like, you resigned. You can't be here begging for the job of the janitor already.
Well, I don't have a job anymore, and there's a buyout and whatnot, so I have all the time in the world.
Stay inside the lines. But something better on the other side.
Your boy Colin M cannot be contained. So, shoot!
I wanna run.
Thank you. I appreciate that.